Welcome to the DGD podcast. As always, the NCDGD himself, Robert Reynolds, and Juan Daniels. Juan, how are you doing, my man?
Good, man. Just having some technical difficulties, but I'm getting it. There we go.
There it is. There it is.
My man,
All right.
Patrick. What's going on? 63 to 3.
I think that's a cult movement right there, guys. Just letting y'all know. So, listen, it is June 3rd, 2022, and with that, we heard something new. June, right? And I talked about this last time. Listen, June's going to be a wild month for Georgia in regards to recruiting. And Juan, you were at camp on June 1st. So let's go ahead and kick this thing in. What was it like, in Athens on June 1st?
Man, it was crazy. The energy was great. The coaches were great. You had Bobo, you had Muschamp that were there. You had McClendon. You had Kirby came in a little bit later on. He was coming from Tallahassee. The recruits and the campers were excited. It was an electric atmosphere, and when I tell you, those guys were getting after it. I mean, they really really were, and just this was it kind of felt like, hey, this is our one shot to be impressive and to impress these guys. And I saw a lot of great talent, a lot of huge guys that were out there. One of the kids I trained, his name is Jude Cascone, and he's actually a 2026 kid, but he was going up against 2023, 2024, and he held his own. I mean, he absolutely beasted. I actually retweeted him on Twitter just to he has a couple of clips that you could see, but he's going to be a future prospect for UGA.
Yeah, I was about to ask. I know, we talk about what Georgia's recruiting, right? Like that. I know there was a few guys that got offered the same day, and um, for me, that's a big deal, right? But June 1st is one thing, right? This whole month, right? This whole month is loaded with camps, loaded with you're going to see. I wouldn't be surprised to see thousands of kids in this month of June because there's so many kids, right? But that also means official visits, and with official visits come photos. And now here has there's an image that went out recently, Juan. You know what I'm talking about. Of a potential, right, white, all white uniform concept, and that even translates over to the helmet side of things. Now, with that being said, Georgia is typically a traditional program, right? In regards to what we're doing with the uniform, we've made subtle changes, but no drastic changes, right? We've had a couple variations. Obviously black jerseys being one. But you haven't saw an all white concept, and the red helmet has been a staple for Georgia and its brand. So I feel like it's a good time to sit here and look at the potential for a changing of the tradition. I ain't gonna say 100% change. No way in hell that's gonna happen. But since Georgia coming off of a national title, is this the year that you see something like an all white concept come out on the field? Is this something that you could see?
Oh yeah, 100%. And times are changing, and so as Georgia starting to get that spotlight, why not do something a little bit different? Because think about it, Robert. You and I are lifelong Georgia fans. If Georgia changes up their uniforms, is that going to stop making us Georgia fans? If they come out in something that we're not necessarily used to, because you're going to have some people that don't love it. They're not going to like it. But are you going to stop cheering for them for that game? I mean, they're the same players, same coaching staff. Let's just, let's go. But do just something a little bit, mix it up a little bit. Hey, you've even seen Michigan with their all blue uniforms, or Clemson will come out and all purple. And of course, everybody, well, not everybody, but I love Oregon's different mix-ups, that they have. But just something to change it up, something to get the players excited about. And again, it's you look at Patrick said it's a little bit too Penn State for him. But again, it's always going to be Georgia, and no matter who puts on that uniform, they're going to be an absolute monster.
I'm kind of with Patrick here. So Patrick says, and I'll pull it back up for anybody that's listening. I'll read it out. Patrick, the 63-3 DGD, keep that in mind, would be okay with the white helmet on special occasions, but he don't really like the white on white. So, looking at the all white, I think, right, and you mentioned Oregon one. There's a team that we start the season with, and that's Oregon. And it will not surprise me. Honestly, it would shock me if they don't come out with some crazy concept for the opening game, right? It screams time to make a statement. Oregon's about making statements with their uniforms. Listen, I understand you know, I guess you could say what's the word I'm thinking here? So Georgia hadn't won a title since 1980 prior to this. So the superstition, right, that a jersey change or a uniform change would hinder that is now gone. There's no such thing as that superstition anymore. On the you look at Oregon being a team, right? Do something crazy, right? You look at all these recruiting visits, over I would say starting last year more so than anything. You didn't see the white the all white. However, you did see, a lot of variations that varied away from what you're used to seeing, the typical red jersey, the white jersey, the silver britches, right? You saw a lot of different variations, on recruiting visits, right? All black concept, all red concept. Now we're seeing an all white concept to include the helmet. Listen, I understand tradition, and there's a lot of old heads that want to keep it that way. But if you're looking at recruiting and in the landscape of how recruiting is changing, it's almost a must. Now, I'm going to give you a perfect example. Patrick talked about Penn State. I'm going to use LSU as an example. LSU typically wears their whites every single game, except for a non-conference. I think it's like one non-conference home game, and they wear the purple jerseys. And I'm telling you right now, the purple jersey is the best color scheme that they have, period. There's no question about it. That jersey is the best LSU jersey. You saw the black jerseys, right? The black jerseys were a thing, and I'm okay with black jerseys. But if this would be the year coming off of a national title where nobody has anything to say because you just won that, so you can do what you want. With that being said, let the kids listen to the kids. Listen to the kids. I guarantee you they're going to want a variation of something similar to what we just saw in these recruiting photos. Let it happen against Oregon and go from there.
Yeah. Well, I tell you what, think about it. If we would have had these white uniforms with the white helmets for that Notre Dame game when we played at Notre Dame, where they said that the stadium was filled more with red or with Georgia, I mean, you could have truly had a whiteout. And so now Georgia can go to somebody else's stadium and say, hey, let's just have a whiteout. They come out there with those white uniforms, and it almost feels like it's going to be a home game. And it's kind of intimidating, if just to be honest. And also, you're thinking, man, Georgia has they have some cojones to call a whiteout at an away game and wear their white uniforms. I mean, but coming off of a national championship, they can do that. And again, for a recruit to come in there and just see something just a little bit different than tradition, just kind of adds a little bit more flavor to what's going on.
And listen, just because we showed the all white and then that is a new flavor, right? For especially for discussion. You still, listen, the Spike Squad guys, the Spike Squad is wanting us to black out the bins, and a perfect time to plug this. Listen, the Spike Squad wants us to black out the bins, right? So with that being said, Juan, why not wear the all black concept that we see in recruiting photos, right? You could see that against Oregon, right? And honestly, listen, you mentioned the whiteout at Penn State, right? The coordination and the organization that they have with their fan base and their school and everything like that right there, it's second to none. Mm-hmm. In my opinion, if the Spy Squad, if they want to black out the bins, Coach Kirby, you're listening, right? Perfect time.
Yep.
Perfect time to black out the bins. Hell, just keep the red helmet. That's fine too.
Yeah.
Black on black, black out the bins. You talking about energizing a fan base when you see the product on the field and these guys run out in all black. The fruit, like the new breed of Georgia fans, my generation of Georgia fans. Now the old generations may have some question marks, and I get that, right? It's tradition, but we're just talking about breaking the rule for one game, not
Yep.
every game.
Not every game. You're right.
One game,
You're right. You're right. And
one game.
that's how I feel with the all white uniforms. I mean, it's not going to be every away game. It's going to be an all white uniform. You know, you always have your traditional red helmets with the white jerseys, silver breeches. Everybody knows about the silver breeches. But again, there's going to be that one or two games. I mean, you look at Stanford. Stanford traditionally is going to be they're going to be all white with the white helmets, or they'll have the red jerseys with the white pants. But every now and then they go all black. And when I tell you that it looks sharp, I wish Georgia would come out in something like that. I think that'd be top notch.
Oh, no doubt. Now I will say this: when it comes to Oregon and all of their color concepts and schemes, ironically, in my opinion, their best one is the actual duck.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is. I don't know what it is. The white helmet, orange face mask, green jersey, white pants, orange socks, and then white shoes. For some reason, that just like hits it over the top. Right.
Right.
Now, at the same time, Georgia can't copy that because we can't put a little tail sticking off our ass. We can't do that.
Right.
So with that being said, we can't put ears off. No, we can't do nothing like that. But for something about it, man, like Oregon has that, like the mascot and everything, that you can just pull it off. And listen, it's okay to listen, this is a copycat league, okay? It's okay to break tradition for one time. Like I said, the main focus of this whole segment here, it's okay to break tradition, at least in my opinion.
Yeah.
I understand the tradition, right?
Yeah.
But it is okay for one game.
One game, yeah.
Listen, these guys earned it. They just got us a national title for the first time in 41 years.
Yeah.
Give them a chance to say what they want, because they earned it. They went out there and they played on the field between the hedges week in and week out and got us a ring. And listen, that 41-year-old curse, that 1980 joke, listen, if you're still saying 1980 and trying to use that as a reference, you can kindly fuck off, by the way. Pardon my French there.
And those guys, I talking to Bobo and talking to Muschamp, and asking them, how are you guys going to be this year? And they said, first and foremost, these boys are working hard. We're going to be okay. And for me, and obviously I'm not putting words in their mouth or having any bulletin board material, but anytime that somebody says, hey, we're going to be okay, they're going to be much better than okay. So just some exciting things, coming from Georgia. Had an opportunity to see the locker room. It's everything is just top notch. Compared to when I was there, we had the rusty lockers that you barely brush up against them and you get tetanus. To now they have the Lamborghini covered seats, in their lockers and the nutrition stations and all that kind of good stuff. So in order for your program to be top notch, you're going to have these types of things, and to get these recruits that they have. Had a chance to walk through the weight room, got a chance to see Denylon, Griffin Scroggs. So a couple of guys that are just some signees right now, looking good. And they're, working hard in the weight room. I saw Mims. It's one thing to see somebody on a football field, but when you actually see them in person and they're towering over you, you're just like, man, it's amazing. So obviously glad to have him back, and not only glad to have him back, but just then to see him, working hard. It's something really great.
Apparently you brushed against those rusty lockers and got receptions.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
But no, so looking at the situation, right? Like you're talking about what was going on in Athens, right? And we'll touch back on this a little bit right now. Perfect transition. Now the entire 22 cycle is in the books, and it's actually on campus now, right? Over Memorial Day weekend, that I want to say June 31st and the 1st is when the guys started reporting in, right? So I want to ask you from this one, what was it like finally out of high school and finally getting in to move into your dorm room and getting settled? What was that like for you being a player?
It's overwhelming. I can tell you that, because not only are you, moving away from home, you are responsible, basically, 18, year old kid, 17, 18-year-old kid. Now you're responsible for being where you need to be, and doing what you have to do. You have a lot of, free time. So you think, and, you can't waste it. You can't squander it. But then again, you are in a room with guys that are competing for playing time, that are wanting to go to the NFL. And so then you have to go and then try to compete because you want to be on TV. So, and you want to go out there and make an impact and make a name for yourself. So it can be overwhelming, but, fortunately for me, I had some great guys that were in my room, and also some great guys that just team leaders that just kind of welcome you in, because at the end of the day, even though most people have individual goals, the biggest goal is to win a national championship. So it's, you again, you're wide eyed. You're the small fish in a big pond, and you're just trying to make it through.
See, I've had my fair share of moving into a new place. All right. Now, we shared room, but it was like 50 of us. Okay. Just so, now, if I'm not mistaken, the dorms, like, are you familiar with the dorm layout? Like, they have their own room, but then they share like a common space. Is that what it's like?
Yes.
Understood?
Yeah. So you'll have like a big space, like a living room or something, and then, maybe like a game room or something, just some different things. And you'll find that that's the big thing now at most of these colleges. And then also too, sometimes they will share with other, just your regular students that are not athletes.
Gotcha. Now, I know, like I said, listen, my experience was a completely different thing because I wasn't focused on college and football. All right. I was focused on surviving and military. That's a
Yeah.
different beast.
Yeah.
That's a different
Yeah.
beast.
Yeah.
But now, you sit there and listen. I understand, a lot of these guys, coming from parts of Georgia and things like that. And like you said, it's a small fish in a big pond, right? It happens, right? You I guess you could say it's something that you'll get used to. And listen, if you're Georgia, and you mentioned, fighting for competition, competing for playing time. At the same time, the culture, right? I think is key here because it can get and push away any types of uncertainty and concerns because look at what Georgia just did in the draft, right? It might be different from when you were coming into Georgia, but now, right, you see so much rotation. So, and listen, we talk about rotation and we've talked about it before, but I think that's honestly helping some guys ease through the process at Georgia. Is that far fetched to believe?
No, you're right. You're right. I mean, and again, like I said, they're more the culture is what's big, and then of course, winning a national championship, everybody wants to go and then repeat. And what do you do to repeat? You bring in these new guys. Anything that you can do to help in order to get them out on the field and do some big time things is going to be great. I mean, look at when Alabama won their national championship in 2017, and they had all those freshmen that were on the field with Waddle and Ruggs, and they had to be brought on. The same thing with Tua, had to be brought on to say, listen, in order for us to win a national championship, we need you guys to step up. And so that culture has been brought to Georgia. Georgia now has that culture to say, listen, guys, it's not about me, and it's not about me going to the draft or doing all that, which, obviously you saw that with the guys that decided, hey, I want to come back. And, Jordan Davis said, I want to come back to win a national championship. And in order for me to do that, I've got to buy in, and then I've got to bring along these other guys and make sure that they buy in, from a leadership standpoint. And that is what you actually feel that. And you had some guys that were players that were helping those coaches run those drills when they were out there, or just helping you could see them talking to a quarterback or talking to a receiver, talking to a defensive guy to say, hey, do this, pick this up, do this. And it's really cool because these are future Georgia football players that they're saying, man, if they can improve this, or if they can do that, they can come right in here and make an impact.
I'm looking at it, right, and I think what you just talked about is really a testament to the culture as well, because these kids don't have to come and help. If I'm not mistaken, they don't have to. They're doing it kind of as a recruiting pitch, in my opinion, right? And listen, not every kid that camps at Georgia is going to commit to Georgia. There's just physically no possible way. But you get these elite kids that come to camp, right? You have these kids that are super hungry, stars, if you wish, 3 stars, maybe even unranked, under the radar guys that Georgia know about, they're interested in. But listen, if they run the right 40 time, you might see an offer go out same day. Yeah, it happened. Okay, but you sit there and you see, if I'm a high school athlete and I'm trying to, camp, soak it in like a sponge, because you have, I don't know, just hypothetically say it, if you're an offensive lineman and you have Warren McClendon or Mims or anybody sitting there giving you pointers and things like that, soak it in. If you're a receiver and Lad McConkey talks to you about something, listen, Lad McConkey was a walk-on, and he's made a name for himself early, right?
Mm-hmm.
AD Mitchell, 3-star, made a name for himself. He's going to be the number 1 guy as a sophomore. Soak it in. So, embrace everything that embrace the opportunity to talk to these guys and pick their brains, right? It's all a matter of absorbing everything like a sponge, right? But you talk about the camps. Now let's talk about officials. Can you believe we went almost 23 minutes and we haven't brought up the name Arch Manning?
Yeah.
Until just now.
Yeah. Yeah.
Listen,
the Arch Manning sweepstakes.
Every single pair of eyes that keep on college football recruiting are on Athens this weekend. I'm just letting you know. If you don't know who Arch Manning is, first off, are you a football fan? Second, to answer your question, if you don't know, grandson of Archie Manning, right? Last name Manning. You're looking at Peyton Eli, right? Cooper, Cooper Manning's son, to keep it short. He's going to be in town, right, for an official visit. Caleb Downs, probably the biggest name in Georgia right now, in the state of Georgia. Biggest target must get for Georgia. He's going to be there. Justice Haynes is going to be there. Bunch of different kids going to be there. Tons of official visits. What is the expectation, right, for an official visit? Like, for what does Georgia have to do to, I guess you could say, what does Georgia have to do to hit a home run for these official visits this weekend?
Well, for Arch, I mean, again, he's already been there several times, but for him to really just kind of sit in the QB room and, and on these official visits, they just kind of go through a couple of concepts. They do some different things, but look what Arch Manning has to look at. So Arch, you've got right now Stetson Bennett's coming back. Outside of Stetson Bennett, you've got you've got Beck, you've got Vandergriff, then you've got Gunnar Stockton. It's gonna be, hey, you're gonna be able to beat these guys out. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. Your name is big enough. We're gonna give you an opportunity to come in here and play. And then, Arch, look at what you have around you. You've got Caleb Downs, you've got Justice Haynes. There's a good chance you're gonna be handing the ball off to Justice Haynes, who, let me just tell you, he's a monster. He's now at Buford. And if you actually get an opportunity to see him, he is a physical specimen. And he's, everything that's advertised. So you've got probably 3 of the top recruits coming in all together. They're all going to hang out. There's a good chance that they probably follow each other on Twitter, Snapchat, whatever it is. They've already been in communication. So it's perfect that Georgia has all 3 of these guys in here to get together. For Caleb Downs, hey, you're a Georgia guy, and Justice Haynes, your dad played here. Why not? Why not Georgia? The facilities, when they take the tour for the facilities, it's amazing. The indoor, the practice fields. Again, you're going to have an opportunity to look at the nutrition bar. For dinner or whatever, you can just go up there, order whatever you want. If you are if you need to be lean, this is, these are your options. If you need to put on weight, these are your options. They're doing a great job of taking care of them. And then, of course, they're also doing, I think it's $80 million of additional renovations. You've got a young head coach. You've got some great guys. some youth when it actually comes to Georgia. Why would you not want to be a part of what's going on there, Georgia?
Listen, you talked about, right, like what comes on official visits, right? You took some with Ashton yourself. Listen, from this standpoint right here, what you're seeing now is a lot different than what you saw.
Mm-hmm.
You took an official visit to Georgia and a couple other places, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep.
Tell us what it was like when you were coming out of high school into college. What was your official visit like?
So my official visit, basically, they go and they'll, match you up. For me at the time, it was Andre Hastings, who was the top, receiver at Georgia, also top in the nation. And, they just kind of take you out, and they, take you to a party, maybe introduce you to, just a couple of people, just to kind of show you what life is like just being a student. And then, of course, the next day they'll take you around the facilities. You'll sit in there and you'll talk with your position coach, and then they'll go through some concepts to say, hey, listen, this is what we do. This is how we do it. These are the guys that are going to be on the board. This guy's going to be a senior. This guy's going to be a senior, so he's going to be out of here. You need to come in and step in and make big plays for us. This is why we're recruiting you here. You go and do the academic side. And again, you're just, doing all of this stuff, a lot of it with your family, so that your family can also experience the same thing. So, family's huge. I mean, they're important, because my mom and dad, after they left, Georgia, they were like, wow, like this is a great place to be, even back then. And they didn't have the facilities, the locker room or the fields and all the great things that they have right now, and even the coaching. And so what they have right now compared to what I had back then, I was a Georgia guy, but I'm telling you, there's no way on this planet I would ever be able to take a visit to Georgia and not want to commit right away.
I mean, I probably would, but that's me also trying to take my red and black glasses off. But listen, with how things have changed from a recruiting standpoint, right? Like you always hear about the facilities arms race, right? And that's a true thing, completely true. As Patrick says, he called it apparently. He said last week, Arch is going to play an. But with that being said, right, you take all these official visits and, sitting there thinking about it, right? For me, I feel like it's overwhelming, right? Because there's so much in so short amount of time, if you really try to think about it that way, right? Because you're not only making an athletic decision, you should be making an academic, decision as well. With all these kids here, listen, there's we talk as Patrick talked about Arch. I want to kind of talk back about this. There's some key Georgia commits that's I feel like Kirby has this calculated out, that took their visits. Just so happens with Arch Manning, Raymond Cottrell, Pierce Spurlin. They're good friends, by the way. You sit there, you take all these guys, that are committed. If you're an uncommitted prospect, why would you want? I want to obviously answer maybe a stupid question, but why would you want a committed athlete to do that? Like, do you expect him to be that type of recruiter on top of the coaching staff, or is it dependent on the kid's personality? Like, some kids might not be that outgoing type of recruiter. Some guys just want to kind of stick to themselves. What's the calculation like for that? Like, I just want to kind of get a feel for it. Like, I have an idea, but is there like a true calculation for this?
Yeah, I mean, there definitely is. And, especially for me, if I sit there and think about it, I grew up a diehard Auburn fan. So I took, visits to Auburn. I took visits to Florida. And, my high school teammate running back was, he kind of grew up, fans of just different things, but he took, he was thinking about going to Georgia, and we just kind of talked about it. Well, we took that official visit together, and he had already committed, but we took that official visit together. So he was like, this is why. I mean, it's so evident why it was to be here. Think about what we can do, together. And I think that's one of the things that they want to do is, again, they're already committed, but they want to take and just kind of say, hey, listen, Arch, we're going to be the group. We're going to be that 2023 group that's going to just change the face of the whole college football. And why would you not want to be a part of that? And so I think it's a great calculated move. It's smart, and it's that's the big thing that for recruiting. Unfortunately and thankfully, Dan Mullen was not smart enough to to do that, but Kirby is, and that's going to be the biggest reason why. And I second what you say, Patrick. We're going to get Arch Manning. Arch Manning will be at Georgia.
Listen, don't get me started. You brought up his name, so don't get me started. Don't get me. I could do a whole show on this, but I gotta stop. I can't do it.
Right.
But with obviously, listen. There is there's a reason, right? I think you look at Patrick doing Mullen jokes. Yeah, go ahead, shoot them out in the comments if you have them. Listen, you talk about Pierce Spurlin, right? I feel like he's a under the radar type person in this recruitment. Right? Everybody wants to look at Sarkisian in Texas, and we'll focus on Arch for a second. We'll open it back up. Arch, the contrary belief is that it's between Texas and Georgia, right? And the narrative of Georgia and quarterbacks are going to be thrown out until the end of time, it feels like, but or until things change. With Texas, you've got Sark, that's an offensive wizard, if you will. But listen, there's a lot of expectations that they have to win their conference first, and there's a possibility they can't even do that. Their offensive line, what is that going to look like? Right? If I'm Arch Manning, listen, the Mannings are a smart family. You cannot tell me otherwise. You cannot tell me that they're not sitting here and literally piecing everything together. Can Sark teach them something new? Perhaps, right? Can Texas block for Arch? Perhaps. That's the problem. Perhaps. The answer there. Georgia has an offensive line that will be able to keep him upright. You have a chance for we just won a national title. Therefore, that narrative that Georgia can't get it done is irrelevant now to anyone trying to recruit against that. You have an elite defense year in and year out that's going to put some of the stress off of you to go out and win games. If you know what I mean. At Texas, what defense do they have? You're going to have to sit there and have a shootout potentially every week to win games. You had a shootout last year and got beat by Kansas.
Yeah.
Any Texas fan listening to this, you got beat by Kansas, and it was your defense's fault.
Yeah.
It was a team effort that contributed. But listen, you threw up a good amount of points, but your defense couldn't stop anything.
Yeah.
It was a broken dam. It was not good for anything last year. And I'm going to stop on bashing them for that because there's already been enough heartache and ridicule for that. But you sit there, if I'm Arch Manning, you want to sit there and you take what they have to offer, right? Newman High School down in Louisiana, they've never won a state title. Arch could do that this year, potentially, right? They want to win championships. They want to get him to the NFL. And if I'm Georgia, best believe I'm telling him, hey, look, come here. You've got great backs to hand the ball off to. You've got a plethora of weapons. They might not be your 5 stars, but they're a plethora of weapons. And you have 2 guys, in my opinion, that are the X factors for this, the catalyst, if you will. Todd Monken, number 1, but Buster Faulkner as well. Mm-hmm. Because there is no guarantee that Todd Monken will be there, even with the $2 million a year salary now increase that he's at now. Still no guarantee that he's going to stay at Georgia the entire time that Arch Manning's here. So Buster Faulkner is a undervalued component there in his recruitment. So you look at that right there, and the fact, listen, there's just so much things that Georgia can use to recruit against. Hey, look, we can win a championship. We just did it. Come here. Listen, we just did this with Stetson Bennett.
Yeah, Stetson Bennett. Yeah.
Bennett.
Well, and if you look at the bottom, here's the bottom line. Every year, once Texas and Oklahoma come into the SEC, it's a simple question. Arch, do you really think that Texas is going to beat Georgia? Even with you at the helm, do you really think that you're going to beat us? Versus, do you know we're going to beat Texas every time we play against them? I mean, and just like you said, the Mannings are smart. That has to be something that they're factoring in is, do you want to face Georgia every year? You know, I don't think that that's something that they're going to want to do. But if you're at Georgia, do you want to face Texas? Yeah, sign me up. I'll take that.
Yeah, listen, there's also another thing here. You talked about Kirby Smart, right? You can't tell me that there's something underneath. If you're a savant on this, there's a friendship there between Kirby and Peyton. I don't care if anyone tells me. You have to believe that there is. All these Kirby jokes that you hear Peyton talk about. You think he's just going to shoot that out now with nothing, with no substance underneath? There's a friendship there,
Yeah.
and I think that matters as well, right?
Yeah.
There's also the coaching stability. I'll tell you right now, Kirby Smart is almost the equivalent of a god in the state of Georgia. Ain't nobody letting him go.
Yeah.
And Georgia is not planning. Listen, he's in the midst of a huge contract extension.
Yeah.
The stability is there.
Yep. And Patrick, look what Patrick, what a perfect recruiting pitch. Imagine having 15 NFL players on your college team come to Athens and we'll do it again. That's unheard of. It's unheard of. And now, when you were just talking about what the additional recruits that are coming in this week with Caleb Downs, I see him. He's going to be a future NFLer. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. Justice Haynes, he's going to be a future NFLer. There's no doubt about it.
Or MLB, depending on how things go.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. So, you have the potential. You're not going to have that at Texas. I'm sorry. You're just, you're not going to have that at Texas. Also, too, you know what? We're playing with Georgia Tech for the state of Georgia. Texas is battling with Texas A&M, who's paying everybody under the sun to come to Texas A&M. And they're dealing with Baylor, SMU, all of these, Texas Tech, all of these guys. We're dealing with, we're dealing with Georgia Tech. So listen, Arch, come on, say it again.
Who is that? Who's Georgia Tech?
It's an online community college. That's,
so like the ECPI of the ACC?
Right. Yes. Exactly.
Okay.
And then Patrick, look at it. Texas had 0 draft picks. All right. I love it, man. I love it. Yes, sir.
That number will change for Texas.
Yeah.
But that is inexcusable for a program like Texas, because in a down year, in a subpar year, LSU had 10 guys drafted?
Yeah.
That's not good. If you're a Texas fan, that's not good. Now they're going to have some guys drafted off this upcoming team. We know that. But again, 0 draft picks.
And then also good. Too, you're having to deal with Quinn Ewers, who will probably be, a red. I think he was redshirted. I'm not really sure, but he's going to be there for at least 3 years. 2 of them, and so again, you're going to be battling with him because they think that he's the next coming. So, at Georgia, you're not going to have a battle. You're just not.
I mean, I think you could, but at the same time, I don't. Like you said, I mean, you have Quinn Ewers, but I think it's more than just a quarterback competition. I don't think they're worried about competition. I don't think Arch would be worried about competition at all.
Yeah,
I think he knows that he's going to go to the NFL regardless. I just think that's the way
no matter what.
So if you have the potential to get drafted, where do you want to go? What do you do to get drafted higher? You win games. You win championships, right? Stats can help. Win a Heisman, but what have we saw out of Heisman quarterbacks and Heisman Trophy winners in the NFL? Not saying
Johnny Manziel,
I mean,
Danny Werfel. I mean, just nothing.
You've got quarterbacks that go out and really underwhelm tremendously, even with all the stats. Development is more than any stat.
Yep.
It's more important and valuable than any stat you can throw out there. And where are you going to get developed the most? That has to be something in that train of thought. But obviously, listen, we've talked about Arch ad nauseum at this point, but I want to talk more about, looking at the slate of June, right? Every weekend it might not be as loaded as what we've got this up, starting today and tonight, but there's some big names that are each weekend, if you will, right? Obviously, my man Jamal, right? Next weekend, right? There's some offensive linemen that are going to be in there, which, in my opinion, is one of the key positions that we need to hit. If you had to choose out of this weekend or out of this whole month, what's the one recruit outside of Arch Manning that you're focused the most on? If you're a Georgia coach in that regard.
Again, Caleb Downs is huge. I mean, he is. I mean, he's one of those versatile guys. He almost kind of reminds me a little bit of a Champ Bailey. Champ Bailey came in and actually played as a true freshman, but he also played some wide receiver as well. Ball smarts. I mean, and then again, like I said, his brother is up at UNC tearing it up. Make a big time name for himself. But I'm telling you what, like Caleb Downs to me is going to be that guy. I kind of feel like we have the inside track when it comes to Justice Haynes. But again, Caleb Downs is going to be that guy.
I've got to do it. I got to do it. My main is Jamal.
Yep.
Jamal. And I'm going to keep beating this horse until the cows. I'm just going to keep beating this dead horse by now. And to me, listen. If you have a guy that is measurably similar to Jordan Davis, that plays the same as Jordan Davis, he's a must-have. I don't care if he's 3 stars, 2-star, 5-star, whatever. If you fit that mold and you can play like him, Jordan Davis, you pick that kid up. And Kirby Smart knows that. Trey Scott knows that. Get his family down here. Show him why Georgia is his next home. Period. Show him why. And you know what I mean? Like pulling kids out of North Carolina can be tricky now, especially with Mac Brown over at Chapel Hill. I get it. But when with the context of what Georgia was able to do this past cycle, right? Jordan Davis, right? The easy comparison for Jamal just went 13th overall, and could have and should have went higher, but it's just a matter of team need at that point, right?
Yep.
Come to Georgia, get developed by the best. You'll play with the best, and you'll get drafted in the NFL. I guarantee. Listen, if Jordan Davis has the level of production that I think he will in Philadelphia within these first couple of years, and say, for instance, if Jamal were to commit to Georgia, how many NFL teams do you think would look at it like, okay, so here's a situation. Jordan Davis is killing the NFL, and there's a kid down at Georgia that Jordan Davis just came from that's the same measurables as Jordan Davis.
Yep.
And he's getting developed under the same guy that developed Jordan Davis from a 3-star to an All-American. You're telling me no NFL is going to see that?
Right.
Every scout in the NFL would look at that. Especially if Jordan Davis goes off.
Right.
If he goes off, that's the key. So for me, and I understand, Jamal might even get paired up with Sadir Mitchell, which is just mind-boggling to me, just how big both of those guys are. I'm just saying, Jamal Jarrett, you have to show him why he just needs to commit. Mm-hmm. Get him to commit. Get him to show why he's committed, right? That's my most important. Bias, maybe, but I still think defensive tackle runs the defense, as crazy as it sounds.
Yep.
He plays in a very important part of the defense. But with that being said, Juan, as we wrap it up, we're going to keep an eye out over the weekend to see how things go with official visits. I want to give y'all guys a preview for what to expect Monday. Got my guy Chris Phillips. He runs SEC Unfiltered, and we're going to talk about we had the show where we talked about my theory for the SEC scheduling and the division layout. Apparently, that was shot to shit, Juan. There's been talks about the 8-game, 9-game conference with 3 permanent, and we're going to talk about that. We're going to go deep down in that. So starting Monday, we're going to run through the SEC in this regard, and we're going to sit there and talk about what the model was that was proposed and how it would impact Georgia, how would it impact the SEC. So we're going a little bit more in depth with the SEC talk here Monday. So be prepared for that. With that being said, though, Juan, how do you know how many days it is left until the count till Georgia kicks off in the Benz?
What is it? Is it 91?
92 days. 92 days. And listen, so we're going to make a quick announcement. The DGD podcast is partnering with the Spike Squad for our countdown to kickoff campaign, guys. You'll see it on the social media platforms every day until our kickoff against Oregon. With that being said, though, keep in mind, and I'll pull it back up. Whenever you make sure to do hashtag blackout the Benz, hashtag it. Make this happen. We talked about it earlier. All black with a red helmet. It's perfect. It's a statement against a team that's going to make a statement with their uniforms. And I understand there's more to it than looking good and playing with uniforms. The game's played on the field. But I'm telling you right now, there's a saying by somebody you might know, if you look good, you feel good. And if you feel good, you play good. And I think that's true.
Yep. Agreed.
That's true. True. Shout out to Coach Prime. But 92 days until Georgia kicks off and goes duck hunting against those Oregon Ducks. Juan, it was a pleasure having you on, getting to pick your brain a little bit about your experience while you were coming to Georgia. Obviously talking about this new – listen, if that all white, my take on it, I love it. Love it.
Yeah.
Whether you like it or you don't, let us know in the comments, guys. Down below, let us know in the comments. Do you like it? Do you not like it? What's your favorite what's your favorite color combination out of the new concepts? Or do you keep it traditional? Let us know. Also, make sure to like, follow, subscribe, wherever you watch the show, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, Facebook. But also keep in mind, lots of rain watches. Use code DGD at checkout to get 10% off your purchase site-wide. Hey, join the Discord and the Patreon. Feel free to join that as well. Getting some good intel about some North Carolina kids. I think you'll enjoy it. And Juan, with that being said, listen, I know you've got a busy weekend, I would assume. You got any big plans, my man?
No, actually, it's going to be one of the more. Last weekend was really tough. Graduation, birthdays, all that kind of good stuff. So it's just finally have a relaxing weekend.
Brigade, baby. Listen, best chat in Dog Nation, in my opinion. Listen, all you got to do to be a part of the brigade, hey, just come in live at noon when we talk. Hop in. You're a part of the brigade by default, all right?
Yep.
But listen, Juan, I want you to have a great weekend. Hey, if you make it down to Athens, let me know.
Yes, sir. Certainly will.
If you make it down there and you spot the arch, right? I think that's it might do some intel right there. But
right.
But listen, I hope everybody has a great weekend. Catch you back here. Hey, listen, Monday noon, we're gonna be talking SEC. There's some information that I think people were really interested in on what you could see moving forward in the future for not only Georgia but the conference. Right? Yep. Listen, DGDpodcast.com. Hey, listen, at the DGD Podcast on YouTube and I should say Twitter and Instagram. Listen, have a great weekend. We will catch y'all on the next episode. Tune in Monday and have a great weekend. Go Dogs.
Go Dogs.